Okay, so that's all I'm gonna say about that. That's all I'm
Yeah.
gonna say about that. I've been seeing what y'all are putting on Facebook, but that's okay. We'll be back. But I also want to do a shout out to Virginia Union University. They won their second game yesterday and played a school that was #2 in the nation in Division II. So we on a roll. We on a roll. And a shout out to IC Norcom, who went to
Yes.
Hopewell and they beat Hopewell and the referees.
Yes. Woo, woo, woo.
Roof, roof, roof. How about that?
Go dogs.
Go
Yeah.
dogs.
So we're proud of the Greyhounds here in the city of Portsmouth. But anyway, welcome. Are we all straight,
We
Leah?
are straight. We're on all
Yeah.
venues.
Okay, we are here, everybody, and I introduced the co-host, and we have a special guest. He's a return guest, Raymond Buster Nelson, and he's here with us today. And he's the owner and operator of a franchise agency of a major company here in the U.S. of A. And he's back with us today to how you doing this? First of all, how you doing this morning?
Good morning. First of all, I'm doing fine, Anthony. Good morning, Anthony. Good morning, Leah. Good morning, Colonel.
Good morning.
Yeah,
Good
good to-
morning.
Thanks for having me back. I always say either I was so bad the last time you gave me another chance, or I was so good you wanted me to come back. But nonetheless, I'm here and I'm glad to be here. Good to be back
Yes.
home in P-Town, whether it's
Indeed.
virtually or physically.
And shoppers are tick. And
How about that? This early in the morning.
we
That's that
appreciate
that's that Greyhound thing, you know?
Yeah, the Greyhound
Hey,
P-Town thing.
what can I say?
you. Yeah. So, Colonel, if you don't mind, if you want to do your disclaimer, and you can lead off the conversation because of what we're talking about, the subject, generational wealth and financial literacy. So, and we know that's your thing as well. So after you do your disclaimer, start off the discussion with Buster.
Yes. For those out there in electron lands and throughout the nation and actually throughout the world, the views stated on this program are of the host and our guests, and not of the radio station or anybody else. So that's going to keep us out of Facebook, jail or anything like that. So we'll continue that. So I like to thank the host and our guests for coming on this morning, because it is early this morning. But Buster is sharp as a tack.
I'm telling you, honey.
Yes, he is. Yeah, so I guess as I'll lead off in the discussion here this morning, and we talk about generational wealth and what does that mean and it means different things to different folks, and then during this discussion we'll break it down. But I'm gonna let Buster talk about himself first before I lead into him and tell him who he represents and what he does.
Okay, Colonel. First of all, again, good morning, everyone, and good morning, P-Town. And I can't start the day without thanking my Lord and Savior Jesus Christ for allowing me to rise again.
Amen.
And I have to give my P-Town shout outs to my family, my mother, Fanny Prunty, class of IC Norcom, class of 56, and my daughter, Brandy Nelson, who now resides in Barcelona, Spain, class of 2001 Greyhound, and the Nelson and Prunty crew with the Greyhounds and those who are Greyhounds and those family members. I just want to say good morning and shout out to them and everyone in
Brandy
P-Town.
is watching, Buster.
Oh, she's there. She's
Brandy's
on.
watching. Yes, she is.
Oh, okay. Well, good morning, sweetie. Daddy love you. So to answer your question, Colonel, and again, thank you for this opportunity, because I think this is a subject that's near and dear to me, and it should be near and dear to all of us, financial literacy. And even so much so, you guys are onto something, because of the major corporations and companies that provide financial services and products are really looking at financial literacy and starting to trying to get it incorporated as a curriculum in the schools, starting as low as middle school, elementary school, and then through the junior high and middle school and through high school. So financial literacy is very important, and it is important in generational wealth building also. And your question about leaving a legacy building, that's something that's very near and dear to me. You asked me what I do. I help people protect the things they value so much with their insurance needs and their financial services needs. On the financial service side of the house, we help people with their life insurance and financial service needs, such as retirement planning. We help them with information on how they can establish accounts and monies, and that will help them leave legacy to their loved ones. And it's done through several different types of methods and products. The question, leaving a legacy, and my main focus, not one of my main focus, but one of my focus is to, I could say, is break the literacy or passive thinking chain within families, especially in our African-American community. When I say passive spending, is how we spend our monies and where we spend our monies. I maybe Carolyn, I hope I'm not ahead of you.
No.
How we spend how we spend our money and where we spend our money, and trying to concentrate, in addition to buying things that goes, buying things and purchasing things that grows. So I feel that and leaving a legacy, so the generation that comes behind us does not have to fall into the same economical traps or lack thereof of financial success. And financial success means different things to different people. And so we have so many tentacles that we can go from there. And I'm sure that will be discussed in this in the topic today.
Yes. You know what? And so you said a mouthful, and to break it down is what we leave, our legacy is what we leave to our loved ones when we're no longer here. But then a lot of folks worry about, and everybody worries about, what am I do? How do I get there? And how do I survive till I get to that point?
Okay.
Yes. And then so, and then why is it important? Because if you look at net worth, that means how much, how many assets do you have in your family? And we'll break it down by race. Assets do you have compared to other people across the street? And you look at African Americans, net worth is about according to Census Bureau, is $19,049. Whites is at the same net worth is $130,000.42, versus Hispanics is at let's see, $12,329. So people of color have 4 times less net worth than our white counterparts out there, taking in consideration education and where they live. And so we have to, and then so we're going to try to discuss real quick on how do we grow that and how do we make up that difference. And so can you hit me on something on that? And I have my own ideas on how to do that too. Go ahead.
Okay, that's a good point. I mean, those stats are real, and those stats are real. And I feel that, first of all, creating the awareness where we are in our financial position. But here's some information, literacy information that can narrow the gap. First of all, this conversation is timely because September is Life Insurance Awareness Month. And the foundation of any strong financial plan is life insurance. That's where it starts, with life insurance. Why do you say that, Buster? Life insurance is one of the greatest wealth builder and legacy leaving tool that's available to everyone. What do I mean by that? Stated simply, if I have a $1 million life insurance policy on myself, and I leave that to my daughter, Brandy Nelson, and to distribute some among my family, when, not if, but when the unthinkable happened to me, that money passes to Brandy, it cannot be taxed. Your creditors cannot attach it. No matter who I owe, no matter how much debt I have, creditors cannot touch your life insurance proceeds. So if that's passed on generationally, and life insurance, and also the foundation is because as you, as a person, amass assets, should the unthinkable happen to you, let's say if a person owned real estate property and it's their lien on the properties, they owe money, and they buy enough life insurance to protect them, and they think the unthinkable happen, that beneficiary can pay off all of those properties, and now they own property debt free, and then that put them in a better financial position. And of course, with the living benefits of a life insurance product, where it has money, cash buildup, where you can borrow from your life insurance policy without going to the bank. So you created your own bank. That money can be withdrawn to help educate other family members. There have been business owners or major business owners who borrow from their life insurance policy to start major corporations and to finance their businesses. So when I started with leaving a legacy, I was just using a simplicity way to start legacy building with a product that's the foundation being in life insurance. Now, and everyone can go out and purchase a life insurance policy, not for the maybe purpose of that, but make sure we not to help our loved one when the unthinkable happen. That's one cornerstone. And then there are other avenues we can look at also. As I said, we'll talk more about passive spending. Okay. Did I answer your question there, Carolyn?
Yes, and so I'll further expand what you're talking about life insurance on the types of life insurance policies, because basically you have your whole life and then your term insurance and those kind of products. Meaning you talked about building up, the whole life has a sort of an investment product that's lived as you can borrow on it versus a term life insurance, which is much cheaper and get more bang for your bucks and serves for a purpose to say you buy it for a purpose, to pay for the house or something like that. Or something, you can get it a larger amount for cheaper monies, because you'll see that advertised on TV through some of these folks that are saying, I could get $500,000 for, $20 a month or whatever, say. But the other piece is, I see all the time, somebody passes on, you see, oh, I got to go get a GoFundMe page to put somebody in the ground. And so, and that is a piece that we have not looked at, because that family has not looked at what we're talking about, life insurance. Am I correct? And
Karen, you're exactly right. And that's why it's so challenging to narrow the gap, because as you just said, if a person passes on without life insurance, so then that family or the family has to find a way to survive financially. And then the other family members who will have to help. So if the person passed, and of course my voice raised, I get passionate about this is what I do. So if a family member passes, and the young person had to have 3 kids or 4 kids, have to be young, 3 or 4 kids. So that's a kid that may not be able to have the opportunity to have a college education. That's a kid that may have to live below the poverty level. That's a kid that the other family members would have to assist. So you see, it strains on the family and it strains on the community to help that family, and that doesn't narrow the financial gaps, because everyone is trying to help that family through the years. So if you have young kids, look how many years to get those kids to adulthood that's going to take financial strained family members, where you have simply purchased a life insurance policy that will cover the education, will cover the expenses during the years, then that family would have had financial capabilities to live the way that the person intended, and that wouldn't be a financial strain on the family. And you have different types of products, which are term life, which means terminates. It's like renting, like you're renting a house. 5-year term stays the same for 5 years, then increase 10 years. And your cash value or whole life policies is almost looked at like an investment. I'll tell you something. I challenge anyone who's listening, if you think life insurance is not important, if you go look at the financial portfolio of any bank, and you will see whole life policy as part of their financial portfolio. Bank purchase life insurance because of the fact they know the value of a life insurance policy and the financial components. Meaning, if you had a whole cash building policy and you had a kid going to college and you needed $10,000, you had that amount in your life insurance policy, you just simply can withdraw that and pay your kids' college education. Or if you're buying a home, starting a home, that can be withdrawn from your life insurance policy. And the Noma, I get to this, is that if you do not pay the loan, pay the borrow money back you borrow, it's just withdrawn from your death benefit. You have $100,000 death benefit, you borrow $10,000, and think, but after you, your family get to $90,000, and your child still have a college education. That's some of the components in living benefits. That's life insurance, one of the wealth building aspect that's used in many, many cases, in more cases than we would know, that life insurance.
So yes,
Buster, let me ask this. As we look at all the different reasons for, as we look at all the different reasons for the gap, the wealth gap, one of the issues in the Black community might be because, we are one of the biggest consumers.
Yes.
And we might look at the things that we have, but really have no foundational wealth. How do we get across? It's not about the things, the cars, it's nothing wrong with that. If you have that ability or those means to do that, but having that and nothing else, foundational, how do we get that message across to people in our community? How important, and you explained a lot of that, but that's one of the things that we have a problem with in our communities, getting it across to us. We can throw the numbers out there and talk about what's going on, but how do we keep pushing that message and let people know, it's not all about the things, because that's material and it looks good from the outside, but if you don't have that foundation and your kids are not doing better than you, what have you done?
That's a great, I say that's a great question, and that is a great challenge. So to answer the question, is first of all, is that is not from a point of interrogation, but education. Last month, I was in DC at the conference for African American financial professionals, and that's one of the charges that we're given, to take it back to our communities. It takes the Buster Nelsons and those of us who are in that position to provide that literacy and that information to our community. And one of the things, as you said, some of the things is helping us understand that it's not a fact of I'm interrogating you, but educating and helping us understand, like Rich Dad, Poor Dad, Robert Kiyosaki said, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, the difference between assets and liability. Are we purchasing things that go or things that grows? And sometimes we look at our assets as liabilities, things do cars and clothes and nothing, there's not anything wrong with a massive needs. However, that type of spending, that type of passive spending, would that help people reach their financial goals? For instance, if we say to a family, tell me, what are your dreams for your children? I would like my child to go to college, have a college education. So what are you doing about that? Do you think the passive spend, the way you're spending money now in asset or sneakers or tennis shoes or t-shirt, which is fine to have those things, but would that lead to your financial success? So it's about education and literacy. I find when I have those conversations, when I have seminars and helping people understand that type of change of mindset of spending, then that moves the needle. So some way we have to get that information into our younger generation, having seminars, having literature, and having candid conversations about financial literacy. Because as you said, that wasn't taught in our schools, that we didn't see that in our communities. We didn't understand money market, bank products. Those were not things that were in our communities. Some people, but we didn't have that information. So we have to provide that to break that chain. And as we have more financial, and then if more people come along the financial field, that information is getting out there and letting helping people and educating those within our family to go out and be a model.
Well, you know what?
I hope I answered the question.
Yeah, you answered it perfectly. And we talk about too, and I read a lot of financial magazines and literature. And I'm gonna tell you, I'm a critical care trauma nurse. This retired from the Army, and I probably read more financial stuff that I did in my own clinical, because I know that as far as my medical career is going to end when I retire or whatever, when I'm gonna stop doing this, but my financial literacy and my investments has got to sustain me for a lifetime. So one thing is to say, make more money and spend less and invest over the long term. And we talked about insurance. You know, that's just one piece of the what I call the four legs.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And then so one is to invest in ourselves through education is one avenue, because you get an education, then it's statistically you're going to make more money from than those who have just a high school education, and the more education that you go up on that formal education, and also with the trade systems, with the unions and things, you're going to make more money, and which will allow you to put more money away and spend less, put money away. And so and with that, it says, like I quoted some stuff from the Census Bureau, you know, the average for Blacks, you know, we make about $45,000 a year, roughly, across the nation, even though, but Hispanics is at 56, whites at 76, and Asians at 98. And there's a big wide disparity of others pulling in more money than we do. But what we do not do, one, is bring it back to the Black community, and our percentage of saving money is like nothing compared to the other races. And there's a financial literacy project we should be between about 15% should be your minimum to be saving in some kind of fund, build an emergency fund or retirement of your gross income. Am I correct?
Yes, you are correct. You're correct there, because as you said, our spending habits and our saving habits, and helping us understand. And as Slim said earlier, how do we get that back and educating us on this? There's a good point you bring in. Yes, you know. I want to say something, Colonel, to Slim's point. Also, one way to get this literacy is that we who understand, and when we know better, we do better. So, for example, Christmas, holidays, instead of giving that niece or nephew or whomever another cap or Nike, I don't call brand, another cap or shirt, or why don't consider, okay, well, I'm going to start a college plan for you. I will put this money into your college plan for $100, $1,000. You can start a college plan. $100, I will start a college plan. Or instead of me giving you a gift every holiday, I'm going to reward you by stock in a company. You like that. What are your products you like? Where do you shop? Look at buying stock. So doing financial things, I will put it in a savings for you. If doing making financial contributions for that person, instead of giving them, buying that another item for them. So that's another way that we can change that gap, is helping them understand that, because mostly when that happens, then that person starts thinking on that trend also.
Buster,
Yes, Leah.
to look at this in a different light,
Okay.
there's still some misconceptions about life insurance, especially in the Black community, especially in the way in which life insurance used to be sold door to door in the Black community, and it was seen only as burial insurance. I also read that someone with a high school diploma applying for a $2 million life insurance policy, the amount of money they would have to pay for that policy is different than that person who has a PhD in the other community. How do we dispel these feelings within the Black community that life insurance is not equitably sold in our community as compared to other communities? And sometimes it's even harder for us to get life insurance in the Black community as it is in other communities. Can we talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, that's a great question, great point. And I cannot deny the fact that I was used back in the day there were in what we call industrial policies, very popular. And the person knocked on the door and said, grandma gave him $2 or $3, and the guy came in the community and he wrote the name in the book, and he left. And those are called industrial policies, where people had paid more into the policy, and at the time of death, either very little or not
Very little
anything
did
was
they get
rendered.
back from it.
Everything was rendered. That was happened. But the insurance industry has been regulated so much now. The regulation of insurance now and the laws that have been enforced, then those hardly never doesn't exist now. And you have people like myself who have moved, when I say moved, professionally into that industry with knowledge, with your professional insurance agents offering these products. So that rumor can be dispelled, because now, where we are now, that is in our rear view mirror. There's not a disparity, I can say, with the products I represent in race. There's not a disparity in age. There's not a disparity in education. It's all according to your all the underwriting guidelines or rules are not segregated in any way, and most of the lines are not. If any company is doing that and that is found, then obviously there's some repercussions for that. So you're exactly right. That's the way. That's what happened to Grandma and them. But those days are the rear view mirror now. Now it's just getting with someone, trusting someone, and asking the questions and helping them understand that if a person applies, a person of color, African American apply, will get the same treatment and the same underwriting guidelines as any other race. So I'm glad you brought that point up, because and sometimes, Leah, we hang on that as an excuse not to do.
I think that's the thing in the community, really, because I hear so many people, when I said that you were coming on, oh man, I know they ripped my grandmama off. I'm not dealing with no insurance company. I'm sorry. I'd rather put my money in the bank, because I just don't trust them, so.
And that distrust is there, and I had customers. I've had customers that felt the same way, but I look at the mindset of when do we get past that type of thinking? What happened to my grandmother? What happened to my aunt, to my grandmother? That we move forward. I mean, you can look in the industry and a lot of quite other industries.
That's true.
And see where there's been disparate treatment, and we have to let that go and move on to where we can help our loved ones. We don't want our loved ones thinking the same when our next generation. But that's a good point. That does exist. The thought does exist. And it's real.
And so another question is, what is the growth factor in individuals who look like you coming into the insurance business, as well as if I was a high school senior looking forward to possibly getting into the insurance business, what avenue will I have to take in order to get into the business? And help my family and friends with this generation.
There you are. That's a great question, because as I said again, I was very encouraged, because when I went last month, when I was at this conference for African American finance professionals, it was all companies. And so when I saw young generational, I mean in the early 20s, just out of college, so there were levels and levels of African Americans getting into this industry. I was very encouraged. I said, it's good to see this, because I know this message. And they went from the hip hop to the different. So I saw people that would look like my daughter. I saw people like my niece and nephews. I saw the people with the younger generation. I was so encouraged to see that, because I know they can get a message to that generation more relatively than me. So that's one way, because we know that, first of all, that we know that there are more and more of us entering this profession. Secondly, most companies, such as the company I represent, and even within my agency, I have a Asper program, and those individuals who aspire to own their agency. And I have had the opportunity to have several persons through my Aspen program become State Farm agents. And we have summer interns. That's the word I'm looking to give you, a summer intern. So if they approach someone in the industry, and most people in the industry are looking for interns, someone who wants to learn the business, someone to bring in, someone to train, to get licensed. So becoming some interns. And if you have any names of anyone that's interested, pass those names on to me. And there's not only through the array of companies out there who's looking to bring other people like ourselves, African American, into the industry. So there's some place to start by having these type of conversations. And most insurance agents are looking for young people who would like to come in with their skill sets, because you bring the skill sets of technology, you bring the skill sets of what you bring, that it really is very intricate in this industry. So that's the way to get started.
Now, one last question, James. One quick question.
Before,
it's time to change over?
yeah.
Okay.
And you could lead off. Just want to say thank you for listening, our listening audience on WGPL 1350 AM. Thanks for listening, and we're going to transition off the radio and continue on Facebook Live. And I want to say, come back next week with us as we often talk about HBCUs and the importance of HBCUs. Our guests will be some alums from St. Paul University, which we all know is closed now, and they are starting the effort to reopen St. Paul's. So come back next week and listen to our guests as they can begin their effort to revive St. Paul's College. Okay, thank you. Leah, go ahead.
Okay, just one other question. Individuals who've been out of school for a while and may want to enter into the insurance industry, will their credit history prevent them from entering into the insurance industry?
With the credit, well, it depends on the products that's offered. So, and depends on the company. Because of the fact it has the company, but if you're offering financial service products such as banks, deposit products, and any information that could be dealing with money, your credit history could impact that. Even if you work for a bank, because of the laws of the federal laws, and you're dealing with money. But as far as a generic insurance industry, to my knowledge, and not my industry, I mean, and for my company, there's not a credit check per se if you're coming into the insurance industry as an employee in the insurance industry. Now, it may be a different scenario if you're considering that you have an insurance agency.
Yeah,
that may have a bearing because of the fact of FINRA, financial insurance, and FDIC. Those may have an impact because you're handling money and the fiduciary responsibility that you would have in handling others' money. There are certain requirements and criteria that's expected, and that the buying public expects us to protect them. So it depends on the position, but there are various positions you can enter the insurance industry with if your credit is damaged, and then once it's repaired, then you can move into other areas, your areas of desire. So that shouldn't deter one from entering the insurance industry, because if their credit is damaged.
One last question about entering now.
Great.
What courses or what training will they receive, and do they receive that within the agency in order to get involved in the insurance industry?
Liv, that's a good question. So first of all, any entry-level position in the insurance industry is available. So like with my agency, I just hired a young lady this summer. She came without any experience. She worked for a local company, so she didn't have any insurance experience. And she's office administrator. She can do things that any office does. But now she is studying to become licensed. That's different. Mm-hmm. So now once they come in, if they move from the admin position to be discussing the products, selling the products, at that point they have to be licensed. You have to be licensed by the state of Virginia to offer the products. So they can come in without any experience, without license, and then they can apply, study for a test, and become licensed. And then they can offer the products, and then from the property and casualty, whether you physical products or financial service, life and health, and then become licensed. So you do entry level position, and then from entry level they can become licensed. So it doesn't take a license to enter the profession. You can come in without a license and move within the industry.
And how long is that process in getting the license?
It depends on individual. I mean, you're studying a self-study, so it depends on a person. Now, some industries require that you, in order to join the team, you have to join the, you have to get your license. So it can take a month, 2 weeks. It depends on the person's ability to comprehend and pass the test. So that can go anywhere from 2 weeks to 2 years, depends on that person.
And so now, since we know how to get into the industry,
Yes,
back to generational wealth. I thought it was important
Good
that individuals who may have been interested in possibly looking into the insurance field to understand how they can get in. So I thank you for that, Buster. And Colonel, I know you're just chopping at the bits to get back to the generation of wealth, but we needed to at least let people know how they could become involved as well.
And let me say this before I jump away from that, because we talk insurance, and you have two sides of it. And you have the sales side and you have the operational side, which my daughter's in the operational side, and that's handling the claims and handling the operational side. So they don't really. I started off in the operational side. I didn't start off in the agency side. So I started off in the claims, handling claims, and so that's college degree or whatever requirements could be an admin position with my daughter, and she moved within the ranks in that area. Even got insurance designation. So she has an insurance designation and the operational side. So but I started in the operational side, and I transitioned over to the agency side. So you can come in that way also. They have to come in through that side also. Good. Okay, Colonel.
Yes. So the other piece that we're talking about, generational wealth, and we covered that one of the legs of building assets is on the insurance side, but the other piece is building assets outside and inside of retirement funds, meaning investments in the stock market. And we look at saying in investments out there. And I think that is a piece that we haven't discussed, and is we can talk about this for days. Is to looking at in African Americans or people of color don't invest other than if they have a retirement fund with their employers, don't put enough money into their thrift savings plan or their 401k plans or whatever. And so most of us will be able, African American or people of color will be retiring with be subjugated to whatever they got, small amount of savings when they retire, and on Social Security, which is not going to give you a robust retirement once you're all done. Am I correct?
Yes, you're correct with that. As you say, I know you're going to the likes of legs of financial success, the tools or legs of financial stool, the financial stool towards success. Yes, most of the time, our investment in the financial market or the stock market, usually through our 401k or thrift savings at work. Other than that, outside of that, we do very little, or if any, and it's understood because of the volatility of the market, understanding the products, and having someone to trust. That's the key. It's someone to trust that you feel that they're going to do what's best for you and act on your behalf, and have that understanding of the volatility of that product or the market. Even within the 401k, within the other financial service products with the stock market. So it is not discussed in our communities. That subject is not discussed often in our community. As I said earlier, Carol, when I was answering Slim's question, was we can introduce the literacy in our family by purchasing for our family members a stock, maybe in a company or some type of investment product for our family members, and helping them and explain to them and helping them see how that grows and goes. They kind of introduce them to that literacy, and they will continue on in the financial, in the stock, in that market.
Yes. But you know what, when you're talking about, and people ask you, how do I do that? How do I do that? And I will tell you, I started 30 plus years ago, and there are what we call DRIP plans. I started off with DRIP plans, dividend reinvestment plans, started buying Dominion Services, what is now is the power company in the state of Virginia. And I started buying at $16 a share. It reinvestment. Now, 30 years later, I get my dividend checks once a quarter or every 3 months, and it pays all my utilities now that I'm retired for the year. But I build up that many shares. And over in buying what they call no load mutual funds, educating myself, buying them. That means all my money goes into a mutual fund. Been buying it forever, and I shares over time, because you look at the stock market. Even though this year that people talking about their 401k plans, they're probably the S&P is down 14% this year, but over time, I've made, you can invest into the stock market through a no load mutual fund, and you will come out over time, and to be fortunate that if you're young, there's no reason why you can't be a millionaire by the time you get ready to call it a day. And then so can you talk about that too, with the drip plans and mutual funds?
Well, no, I just think that based on that information is that people who've not been exposed, I can understand the concern because of the language and the lingo. And what we hear now is that the market is down, I'm losing money, my 401k is down, and I'm losing money. And as you said, if you look at mutual funds, we're just as a family of funds, simply a family of funds, simplistically, meaning if you had 5 companies, and mutual funds is buying stock in 5 different, could be buying stock in 5 different companies. And if one company is down, then the other company would be up. So therefore your money's still in different companies instead of just in one company, riding the volatility. If a company is doing well, your stock is going up. If it's doing bad, your stock is going down. But mutual funds is more than one company, so spread among a variety of products. Now, to answer that question also is to have someone that you trust, and someone who you trust, that with your money, who can talk to. Now you educated yourself. You're self-educated. There are most people who are not. So I always say, if you have knowledge of the market, if you have interest in the market, if you don't have time, or you don't have any knowledge, interest, or time, then I always say, find someone who does and you trust, and then have them explain. One easy reader is Money Magazine. I read that every month. Money Magazine. Anyone that would love to get into the financial, Money Magazine. I have this subscription in my agency, in my business, and Kipling, Kipling. Kipling is another. Those two explains it to any easy readers, and to answer those. So most of the time, those who have money invested in your retirement plans or environment, there you are, Kipling. Yep. Kipling's is a really great magazine. There you are, you're on it. And Money Magazine. Could you hold that again so it always make us see that again? That is a great magazine. I have that subscription in my agency so people can read that. But those are 2 readers, and it helps people understand how they invest their money and where they're putting their money. And not only about the funds. I think we get too caught up in the funds as opposed to the vehicle. That's the thing I think we lose. So, for example, when I say, you hear the word individual retirement account, we hear Roth IRA, you hear, so if I may stop here and allow me a moment, when you hear the word Roth, individual IRA, those are your vehicles. Then your mutual funds or your stocks are how you're going to fund. That's the gas you're going to put on in the vehicle. That's how that vehicle is going to grow. That's how the vehicle is going to go. So you may have a Roth, and then it's based on your risk tolerance, how much risk you can take. That's the thing, Colonel. When people think invest, let's get it back down there. If Colonel tell me, Buster, this is a great stock, purchase it. Well, for him, it may be great because Colonel can understand, don't have a problem with his portfolio going up and down. I may say, Colonel, I am a little more conservative. I can't sleep at night when I see my portfolio go up and down. Where there are funds you can invest in where it's not going to grow as much or go as much. So that's understanding where your risk tolerance, and any financial professional will help you invest according to what risk you can take. We all take different risks. So that's the first thing. According to your risk tolerance, All companies do a risk tolerance performance with you, and you invest according to your risk tolerance. Time horizon, how long is it going to be before you're going to use this money? If you're talking about, I use my daughter Brandon, for example, again, 39 years old, probably gonna work another 10 years, 20 years. If she have an account that's now doing the market is up and down, well, why are you concerned about the volatility? Because your time horizon is still far away. Because right now, really, I tell people, the market is on sale. If Walmart was having a half price, America is on sale. If Walmart was having a half price sale, we all be in the parking lot. So when the market is down, what they say, buy high, sell low. Sell high and buy low. So now it's low. And now the market is on sale. So to say that, just a little insight, we're talking about that. We're talking about products. I understand you have to, your concern about the market going down. But if you're not near retirement, you don't need this money at this time, and you still a ways off, then I would, you may want to consider or talk to who you ever work with, who you're working with financially. If not, just consider continue your path and do not change your course, because you still have some time before that will become a reality for you. And then, Karen, I wasn't dodging your question, but when we talk about different funds, I don't want to get the impression that one fund is better than another. The best fund or the best investment is where you can put your money and you can sleep at night and you feel comfortable with you. Because everyone have a different risk tolerance of what works for them, and that's the best place I would say where you're safe if you're considering putting money in the stock market,
yes,
or any investment that grows.
But you know what? I'll make one more question, one more thing. When you talk about people talking about, well, I'm losing money, I always say you have not lost a dime until you sell.
Say that again. Say that again. Say that again. Say that, girl. Say that again.
You sell.
Yes.
And then so if you look back, and I'll go back to 2008, and that year, and 9/11 and stuff like that, you know, the stock market went down almost 40% that year. Only people that lost or got out of the market are people who sold their funds. So if you dollar cost average in, and dollar cost averaging in, meaning I'm buying a set amount of, I'm putting a set amount of money into a fund or an investment product, I'm going to, on a down year, I'm getting more shares. On up years, I'm getting less shares. But over time, the price of that share, because if you have time on your horizon, it will be higher than what you would do over if you try to time the market and only buy low and sell high. And statistically, if you dollar cost average in, that statistic says you will be much further along for those who time the market, because the market has been great. And yes, and even now, you know, with this market being down 14-15% this year, I still put in more. I still put in my, you know, and I say every young person should start at least at 15% putting into a retirement account, and then try to find money to put out in their other leg in their retirement in mutual funds outside of their retirement programs. Let me get that extra money, and we find the money by, when Slim was talking about spending one less time getting your nails done, or one less time that I go out to dinner, I can put that money into a retirement account. I can tell you for myself, even in the military, I worked a part-time job as a nurse up until I made lieutenant colonel. But I put a large portion of that extra income into mutual funds. So when I walked out the gate, I was done and done and done.
Let me define, you use a word that's very important, and to Slim, I want to miss it. Dollar cost averaging.
Yes.
Dollar cost average just simply means either every month or every quarter, a systematic method that you are buying funds. That's all dollar cost averaging in. Most people do it monthly, and if you are putting money into your retirement plan every paycheck, if they're withdrawing money from your check to put in your retirement plan, you are doing a dollar cost average. That's what dollar cost average simply means. You have a methodical way of putting money into a retirement or investment plan. And as Colonel said, to say this, to put a nice bow on what he said, great information, Colonel. It's not time in the market, it's time in the market. And if you look over the time, and lastly is that in the history of the stock market, when there are a downtime or years, then you have the biggest upswing. There's a larger upswing when that market rebounds. Yeah. So usually you're gonna rebound and reach your financial horizon. Okay, Slim, that's all I have to say. I know you had something you want to jump in.
Yeah, to your point, I worked with a guy one time who I'm sure he worried his broker to death, calling all the time, seeing how his stocks were doing, and he's probably somewhere stressed out right now. So, so good points both of you all made about the Colonel saying you don't lose until you sell, and you don't invest in something where you have to worry about if it's going up and down. But I wanted to, as we get close to the hour, I wanted to, and we talked about this, growing up, and you grew up in Lincoln Park, and growing up, and you talk about the influences around you and how it starts early. And we talk about generational wealth, and that generation, sometimes that first generation might be the person that starts that generational wealth. And I remember being at Truxton Elementary in the 60s, and third grade or something like that. They were teaching us how to write checks. So it's important. How important is it for us to start early with, especially with all the technology and the young children in elementary school having a lot more knowledge than we had when we were at that point? How important it is to start them there, because some of them are that first generation that's going to start the generational wealth for their families going forward.
Yeah, I think that's very important. That's where it starts. That's another, circle back to the question. I think Leah, someone asked that question. How do we get that to our communities? How do we get that? And Slim, that's a good point, is that we can start with our elementary at the level, within our families. Instead of segregating ourselves when it's time to take care of the financial aspect of the home, is to explain to them what is going on. If you're writing, because most people don't write checks now, because they would not write checks properly.
They don't know what checks are anymore.
They don't know what checks are anymore. However, so let's just say if you have family, young members of your house families. So if you show them your bank statement, okay, this month, this is what my bank does for me. This is how I pay this bill. This is how I pay this creditor. This is automatically deducted out of my account. This is ACH. This is what an automatic clearinghouse is. This is how they take money from my account and move it. Sometime this is how ATM works. Every kid know what an ATM is, right? Every kid knows an ATM. Every kid know what a debit card. But do they actually understand how a debit card actually works? Do they understand when you swipe a card, what transaction goes on here? Why do I go to the bank? Like one person told me, said the child told them, they were on their way to the store, and she said to her child, I don't have any money. She said, well, her child said, well, mama, go to the wall, get some money out of the wall. So they think the money coming out of the wall. But anyway, so how does that debit card work? Explain the debit card, understand the debit card, and understand how it's attached to the account and how that money moves. Slim, starting with there, and then understand the bank. I find that when I start with financial literacy, the basic aspect is start with explaining in our community. This is where it starts in our community. What's a savings account? What's a checking account? What's a certificate of deposit? Explaining a money market. I think when we explain that kind of basic, I don't use it basic, I don't use the word basic, please, because basic could be very, very robust for someone else. So understanding that type of literacy, explaining that, and then, as you said, Slim, how the internals of money work, the internals of money, and that's where it starts. Because every household handles money, but understanding how, and I think once we get a handle on, okay, how that starts, how the money, and then how am I spending my money? Look at your account. And number one thing we haven't talked about, we're talking about financial, the financial gap we're talking about, is that one thing I have to say is that we have to do better with helping us understand establishing a budget. A budget.
Yes.
Establishing a budget. Now, we said life insurance, we talk about all these other things, but we get back to basics. Let's get to the rudiment. Let's boil it down. As they say in Fredericksburg, let's get the hay down where the cows can eat it.
Joe Madison.
is that budgeting? Because we just spend money frivolously. If it's there, we want it sometime. And I say we, sometime in our community, because I'm part of our community. If it's there, we don't mind spending this for how we spend them. If the new, I don't want to say a name, if the newest sneaker come out, we want to get that. But then if something else over for literacy, then no, we can't pay money for that. But does that fit in the budget? Is that the proper thing to have? What message are we sending our children when we do that?
Yeah, because they might think twice about
purchases.
asking for those $300 sneakers if they know the ins and outs of the finances of that household. And kids are very smart at a young age now, so you can sit down and tell them about it, and then they might stop you sometimes. Dad, Mom, you probably don't need to buy that, you know. So,
or they could save towards those $300 or $200.
Yeah,
or they can save
towards.
towards those items they need.
Or teach them how to save towards.
Exactly. Those basic in the household, those types of things, it would help a lot to narrow the gap.
Yes.
Buster, Linda Harrington writes, thanks for watching every time, Linda, in Maryland. She said, we must remember most of the funds invested in a thrift savings account or stocks. Money is tax deferred and taxes must be paid when sold or withdrawn from these accounts.
Exactly. That's a good point to bring. I'm glad that segued into something I had written down. Exactly. Any money that's invested in there are two types of money, as we call qualified and pre-qualified. Non-qualified, I'm sorry, qualified and non-qualified. Qualified money is money that you have put into an investment plan, most like your IRAs or retirement plan, and that money has not been taxed, and it grows tax deferred until age 72 and a half has been changed. You have to start withdrawing that money, and we have to call it a required minimum distribution. Required minimum distribution is when you take that money, at the 72 and a half, the federal government say you have to take a required amount out with the formula that's given to, you'll get a letter every year telling you. Then money that you put into a investment was after tax. You've paid taxes on the money, and then you put that into a retirement plan. That is the Roth IRA, and that's based on your income limitations. I mostly tell people to really look at the Roth IRA because that grows tax deferred. So even when you take the money out, it's not taxable if you meet the qualification within the guidelines. So that's a vehicle you can put in, we can accumulate, and you don't have to pay taxes on the gain. But your retirement plan, that money you put in your retirement plans, once you start taking that money out, it is taxable. Now, let me say something to that point. And that's another thing to talk about wealth, generational wealth. Now, we talk about accumulation. Let's talk quickly, and I know you guys can be near and dear to your heart, is how we give back. Meaning, for example, on the sidebar conversation, Anthony and I had a conversation about your 501(c)(3)s, what I see now from 501(c)(3). So as I said earlier, that money accumulates. Now I need to take it out. And some plans, if you are required minimum distribution, talk to your tax advisor. You may not need the money for your required minimum distribution. The government said this year, Liz, you have to take out $5,000. Well, if you really don't need the money and you need a taxable, you can give it to some 503c organization and it's not taxable to you.
To your IC Norcom Alumni Association,
Yes.
5013C. Put those dollars in to help.
There you are.
Children.
There you are.
Buster. Thank you, Buster.
See, so some of that money can go to check with your advisor, and you can give money to 501(c), your college. You check out the that tax deferred, and you can move, instead of using that money, you can move that money to a 501(c), and then you don't pay tax on the money because you weren't going to use the money anyway. So you can give that to a 501(c), but check with your advisor and check with the government guidelines. So that's another way of creating generation wealth, because there could be 501(c)(3) that's doing things in the community, in our community, where we can contribute money to those plans. So I'm glad you brought that up, because I didn't want to get off with mentioning that. So creating generational wealth is the accumulation. And if I go one more place, is that we talked about the accumulation side, that's growth. Let's talk about the decumulation side. Now we're ready to retire. She just segued into that great point. How do we withdraw this money so we can live on this money the rest of our lives? Because the greatest fear most of us has outliving our money. And there are vehicles that can tap you with that also. That's another probably subject for another time. But those are the things creating generational wealth. Now I'm withdrawing this money. And how do I make sure this money is used for my purpose, and I will not outlive it, and I can have to maybe take care of my families and passing this on to loved ones?
Yes. But Leah, the person you had on the line that talked about their thrift savings plan, there within the thrift savings plan, there is a Roth component where the money that she puts into that component, it will be able to withdraw it tax-free. And so she should really look at, depending on her income and the family income, is look at putting more money into the Roth component. So when she does withdraw it, it'll be tax-free.
Okay.
Carol,
Yeah.
can I bring,
listening?
can I bring up another leg quickly? I don't know how much time we have.
Yes.
Please, go ahead.
I want to bring up another leg, because and please understand, my portfolio go beyond just the insurance industry. Let's not forget real estate, owning real estate.
Yes.
Now you may not have, I don't want to step in it, you may have enough someone coming up, but that's enough. I don't know if it's part of the stool or not, but let's not talk about owning real estate also as a part of our financial success in the community. Also, how do we move out from renting to buying? Home ownership. Now, everyone can't own a home initially, but how can we own homes? Because you're building owning homes, equity built up in home, how that can be used to help us reach our financial success also. That's another leg of that financial stool, is owning real estate. So moving from renting to buying, and buying properties, or family getting together. Now, one thing about some families had, it was popular, families have investment club. Let's talk about, that's another aspect of asset accumulation also, is owning real estate. Not only, and not being redundant, but people say, well, I would love to buy a home, I want to purchase a home. As I'm home, I'm in P-Town, riding around town. There are a lot of people there are a lot of houses for sale, distressed property, keeping homes within the family. If a family member passed property on to us, what do we do to keep that property in our homes, in our families, and pass it on to our generation? Yes. And so that's another leg, finding ways where we can live together to like other generations, maybe if 2 generations living into a house, instead of paying rent to one person, 2 generations living together, owning a home, and then helping the other move out. Those are another area also. I don't want to get too far into that, because I don't want to steal some of the questions.
And you said,
No, that's a great question.
Housing, and let me, 1 minute, Colonel. You mentioned housing investments, and we see all the time in our neighborhoods, especially our older neighborhoods, how people of other persuasions are coming in our neighborhoods, yes, and buying property. And a lot of us every day get these little messages from people. Do you want to buy? We want to buy your home.
Oh, yeah.
You know, and it comes all the time. And most of these people are from out of town. They just have people scouting around.
Yes. And
we see it, you know, next door to you, you see the house going up for sale, and then you see these people buying it, and they turn it around, flip it, or turn it out. They're not even renting it out. They turn it around, flipping it over, and selling it right back to us. For you know, so it's important for us to look into that as well. And you know, I guess if it's like you said, if it's hard individually, you know, think about investment clubs, you know, with family or friends, to do that kind of thing. And a lot of times we miss out on that. So I'm glad you brought it up. I didn't have a question. I just wanted to.
That's a good point, Slim.
Yeah.
But you know what, here's another piece of financial literacy that we didn't touch on yet, and we go on this, but your credit score impact your life in the future, now, your present, and in life in the future.
That's so important, protecting your credit. And the of purchasing, it can either give you freedom or it can lock you down.
Exactly.
And that's sometimes we put ourselves in position where we are limited in what we can buy and what we can do, because our credit score entangles us. and looking at ways to protect our credit. And thinking about affordability because everyone had, neighbors have a new vehicle, somebody mentioned that earlier. Do I really need another vehicle? How long should I hold on to my vehicle until I'm in that position? Understanding debt to income ratio, how much money I'm bringing in and how much I'm paying out, because that's what basically the rudiment of credit score, debt to income. How much money you have. And those who listen to simpler formula, the debt to income ratio, what they're looking for to determine your credit score, how much money you have coming in and how much you have going out, paying. And also
And who do you pay?
I'm sorry, what'd you say?
Who do you pay?
Who do you pay? That's right. And paying on time.
Paying on time.
On time. If you got, yep. And also don't be bashful about, if you are in financial trouble with a creditor, call the creditor. Because see, I worked, before I came to the insurance industry, I was in the finance industry also. I worked with a large finance company. And so call the creditor, they will work with you and be serious about it and deliberate about it. But like you say, your credit score, because that will allow futuristic those things you can and cannot purchase.
What's a good credit? What is a credit score though? And what is a good credit score for those who are out there?
A credit score is that there are 3 credit score ratings, 3 companies that rate your credit. And so when you're looking at your credit score, most people say a lot of people want an 800 credit score. Okay, that's pie in the sky. If you get anywhere from 700 to 650, if you stay in that hub between 700, you want a 700 to 650, you mostly probably get most of the things that you want from 700 to 650. You want the lowest, you want to be around 650, but 700 is where you want to be. 800 is you're really elite. Do you have people that have a lot of 800s? No, but most people hover between 800 and 650. That's what most people hover in that area. But you want a 700, you're there. But some credits will take a chance. 650 depends on your debt to income ratio. That's why I say that. Because you may have had some blemishes on your credit that may have your credit score down, but they let you pay in a timely manner. So credits could take a chance based on your purchase. But if you're 700, usually you're going to get the things that you like. And one of the biggest things is I tell people, try to avoid as much as possible credit card debt. Put a lower limit if you have a credit card. If you have a credit card, put a lower limit. Do you really need a $10,000 credit card limit? Do you really need a $5,000 credit card limit? Because that really, the credit card, because it's easy to walk in and buy. And then where your purchasing habits. If you have a credit card, you walk into the store, see something you like, do you have to have that? Walk away, walk through the mall or go somewhere online, clicking online, come back the next day instead of purchasing right then. Come back the next day, think about it, and then come back the next day. So those are some things that make you think about your purchasing habits, really. And then that can maybe help you with that, because it's so easy to click it, I pay for it in 30 days, or look at some of the credit cards where they have to be paid off in 30 days. Yes. If you purchase anything, have kind of develop mindset, can I pay this off in 30 days? If I cannot pay it off in 30 days, do I really need it? Mm-hmm. Those kind of thought processes, because you pay for it sometimes 5 or 6 times. You don't realize with the interest attached to what you're purchasing, and then you have the product, and so you can pay for that product at least 6 or 7 times over the years.
So, Buster, what to further expand what you were saying if I have a lower credit score, it's either I can't get it or I'm going to pay a higher interest rate.
Yes,
to get it, and that's the whole answer. And the higher my credit score is, I'll pay an interest rate much smaller. And then those folks that say, if I have a 600 or whatever, 500, I have to discuss, can I get it? Versus walk in the store or into the car dealership and they pull it up and I got a 700-800 something, then there's no discussion really. It's just saying what I want.
Yeah, which vehicle do you want, and you get the better interest rate. So it seems like you, and some people also say, it seems like a bit opposite, Buster. But that's the way you're right. That's the credit. That's the nutshell how the credit industry operates.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Because our interest rates really can handcuff your financial law. So there you go. If we have a lower credit score, we're paying more to use the money. Your interest rate is what you're paying to use, what the bank is charging you to use their money.
Yeah. Yeah. And it leads us to a whole different discussion on how do we repair our credit. But that might be a different show, because I know we're coming up on a little later than in this discussion. So we really got to have you back to open this up.
And I think also, if it's not me with someone, please have that discussion, because that's another thing, part of helping us to reach financial legacy. And whomever, please have that discussion on credit repairment, because that really is needed in our community. That's needed in our community.
So you're ready to come back and share that with us, Buster? Is that
if
what
you invite me back.
You're trying to say, have you back again, Buster?
No. If you invited back, I will. I can't solicit myself.
Well, Buster, let me tell you what. Believe me, the way that you share the information, it has been received well. And I'm looking at some of the comments online. So maybe we do need to have you back to talk about credit repair, because a lot of people are out paying individuals to supposedly repair their credit. So maybe we do need to have that as the next discussion.
I think it would be great. And there again, I just want to tell you, and I say this sincerely, I get a little emotional about it, but I say this is shit, Lear, Anthony, and Colonel. This is so near and dear to me, what you guys are doing there, because we need each other in this. Really. This is where we really need each other. And this is where we can help each other. And it doesn't have to be anyone have to be embarrassed about where they are or how they are, where they are. And if we don't start on these avenues, and that's what I do every day with my team and the community, how can we help each other find it? Because I am some advocate of leaving a legacy. I'm an advocate. If you look at my out of office mantra, is live, love, laugh, and leave a legacy. Live, love, laugh, and leave a legacy. I'm so on legacy building, because we can break that gap that we talk about, of that percentage of poverty and financial devastation. And it's a time the finance industry is trying to figure it out. And I want to say says that the area that the finance industry is targeting this is a shout out, African-American women. The spending power, the buying power, how the African-American, educating all but the African-American women. That is a target that's being targeted. I mean, in a great way, not a bad way, in a great way. That customer segmentation, that market segmentation is being targeted to for literacy and helping raise the financial literacy and the financial wherewithal of African-American women. And I'm so proud of that.
Yes.
Yes. And I'd like to thank you again. I want to tell the audience, if you heard Buster or anybody call me Anthony, or you heard call me Ant, that's just telling you they've known me for a long time. That was coming up in the neighborhood. That's what I was called. So, even the Colonel remembers that. So, so I just wanted to say that. But Buster, yeah, we're going to have you back, and I think we need to have. My thing is having familiar faces coming back, because after a while, people gain trust in that person. We have several other people like Dr. Duncan we have back for certain other issues. And after a while, our audience see you back in time and time again, and that sort of gains a little trust, as opposed to, nothing wrong with having other people, but every few months we need to have you back, because this subject is something that goes on forever, and generations need to know this, have this information as they grow up and grow into their life. So we're going to have you back, and we'll continue, because we could talk forever, about this subject.
And James, Dr. Duncan is on as well.
Yes.
Today she's on,
good morning,
as
Dr.
always.
Duncan.
She's always
good
on.
Morning, Dr. Duncan. I never met you, but good morning.
Yes, Norfolk State School of Psychology.
Yeah.
So we use her a lot, because that's an important issue in our communities as well. So thanks again, Buster. We appreciate you, and have a good meeting. And we'll be back in touch with you to come back to us. And thank you, Colonel, for the knowledge that you gave us today. I knew
Thank you,
you
Colonel.
would be a big part of this conversation because of what you've been doing financially over the years. So we appreciate you as well. And you too, Leah. We
Well,
appreciate you.
Well, I appreciate you, James.
Yes.
And Colonel and Buster.
I
But
appreciate
Buster, let me just say one thing
all y'all.
before we close this thing out.
Mhm.
You need to stand up and show us the whole piece, see, because listen, Israel Charles Norcom would be so happy to see you, man. I mean, right from the hat to the jacket to the
Yes.
tie. I
We'll
mean,
just stay with the top.
Now don't do like some of those who are on Zoom and they only have the top and not any bottoms on, okay?
Yeah.
But
Okay, how about
Buster,
that?
let me tell you.
It's hard.
You would make Israel Charles Norcom proud on this morning, this early in the morning, to be dressed so debonair.
Yeah.
But anyway, I want to say
I
not
can
only
dress
that,
like this, I can speak like this, I can think like this, because the rudiment of Israel Charles Markham and P-Town.
amen.
Of all I
Amen.
am, the essence I am. So please know it all started there. And I represent Norcom and P-Town and the family everywhere I go. And so this is I'm a reflection. This is a reflection of Israel Charles Norcom.
And that's what we have to do.
So yeah, so thank you. And one thing I want to say quickly is that how do we, Norcom, how do we get into someone's ears where we can get in front of classes at RC Norcom and talk to the kids about financial literacy? I just leave with you with that.
Well, Buster, that's
You
something
have to answer that.
that's
Right.
something that I need to talk to you. And I'm sure that the principal has been working with us, and I'm sure that he would be in agreement. So I'll sit down with you and we'll get with Dr. Foster, and I'm sure that he would be happy to have something of this nature to come into the school. So we definitely need to talk.
It could be virtually, or it could be in person. How can we take that to Norcom?
I will definitely talk to him, and we will set that up. I'm sure that we can do that. Okay.
Well,
Yeah.
I would be happy to be a part of that.
Leah, it's hard to get that six frame into the whole picture.
I know.
So he has to give it to you in sections.
Adjust it up and down. Had to adjust it up and down. You know?
'Cause I remember when he first came to Norcom, I was taller than him. So next thing you know, I was looking up at him. So he's grown. He's grown in many ways. Many ways.
We shared a lot of time on the pine talking.
How about it?
On the bench? Are you on the bench talking?
Yes.
On the bench.
We spent a lot of time on the bench talking about what we do when we get in there, what we would
Get
do.
in there.
But Buster, I must encourage you also to pay your lifetime membership in the Alumni Association.
I want to have a sidebar with you on that because we're talking. Please, Leah, we talked about that before, but
we're gonna talk. We're gonna talk.
Now, please make it sooner than later because I'm talking to Anthony.
It's gonna be soon. It's gonna be sooner than you thought. Okay.
Because I was talking to Slim about some type of a contribution. So please, please.
Sounds good.
I'm sure I get that call when I get off now.
Oh, you're gonna get that call right away. You say you have a meeting at what time?
My meeting is at 8:30. I have time to call me off.
Okay, I'll give you a call.
Please do.
Okay, as we sign off, I want everybody to watch our Thursday evening edition show as we start our series with the candidates, the city council and school board candidates. And we have 2 candidates coming up this Thursday, and you'll keep an eye on the Facebook. We'll start promoting who they will be. But each Thursday, we're going to have 2 candidates. So make sure, and each one of them are going to get a half an hour. It won't be 2-minute sound bites. You get a half an hour, and we want you to participate as well when you come on Facebook and give us your questions. And like Leah said before, you can give us your questions in advance, but come on. You might want to come on, and we're going to have one question that's going to be to all of them, but basically it's going to be a discussion. And a lot of our questions will come from their presentation of their platform. And so each candidate might get different questions from us. So it won't be 5 questions that all candidates will get. So we want you to know the real candidates. We want you to know who they are. And when you go to the polls on November the 8th, you'll make an informed decision of who you want to vote for, because you know who that candidate is and what benefits they'll bring to you as being a city councilman or a school board member. So this Thursday at 7 p.m., make sure you tune in, and we will have a city council person and a school board member as our guests. And they were given a half an hour each separately. And also, go ahead.
James, and I think that we need to continually make note of the fact that all candidates have been invited to participate. Many chose not to participate. So just let it be known, everyone was invited, but some chose not to participate. Not that we are excluding anybody. Everyone has been invited, but some did not see the value in participating.
But the majority have agreed to come on because they see the value of letting the public know who they are. And they see this as an opportunity to express themselves a little bit longer than they would normally do in a forum where you have 11 or 14 candidates. So, and nothing wrong with that, but we just want to give you a little different spin on introducing the candidates to you. So thanks again. And don't forget, next Monday, as you know, we feature HBCUs. Oh, Tommy, you wanted to say?
No. I'm gonna let it go right now for those who want to come on. I got something for them.
Tommy, my Tommy.
I got something for you. Okay.
Well, I think if they've been watching, they know what you have. And hopefully they'll be ready for you, Colonel. But I mean, but whatever you throw at them is for the benefit of the public, the people watching, the voters watching. Might be some of the things they wanted to know. So that's why we're doing the format like we're doing it. And next Monday morning at 6:30, make sure you come on, as we have, as I mentioned earlier, we have alums from St. Paul's College. Is still college, or did they become a university before they closed? But anyway, alums from St. Paul's College, they will be on and share what they're doing to sort of bring St. Paul back. We can't afford to lose any of our HBCUs, and St. Paul was an important part of the CIAA, and we want to bring them back. And as far as educating students, just like all our HBCUs and Frostbury State.
Yes. Not HBCU.
Yeah.
But before you go though, I look forward to a robust discussion for those who or getting ready to come on and talk to the constituents of the city of Portsmouth. But I do, and I will say, I got something for those who decided not to, that said, and I'm gonna leave it like that.
And will we save that till the end, Colonel, or are you gonna do it prior to?
Oh, it's throughout till the
okay.
You know, until they crawl out from under their rocks.
Uh-oh. Okay. And the last thing I want to say, we're bringing these candidates on, and you know, of course, we need your help. Anybody that wants to make donations to Portsmouth Coffee Talk, you can do that we have a Cash App, $ Portsmouth Coffee, or PCT 1220, and or you can do by Zelle, and it's Portsmouth Coffee Talk at yahoo.com. So we look for all the contributions, because we're bringing these, a lot of places they have to go in this format. They have to contribute something to be a part of it. But we want to make sure we bring them to the public, in order for you to get a full look at the candidates before you go to vote. So if you want to make donations, like I said, $ PCT 1220 and Zelle. And for those who still using the mail, what is that, Colonel?
Yeah, for those who are still using the mail and who write checks that we were talking about earlier.
There's still some people that do that.
Yeah, Portsmouth Coffee Talk at P.O. Box 7664, Portsmouth, Virginia 23707.
All right, thanks. And remember, all the proceeds go right back into the Portsmouth Coffee Talk shows. Thank you so much. And thanks again, Buster. We appreciate
Thank you, Buster.
Thank you, Liv. Thank you, Colonel.
I'll call you shortly.
Thank you, Slim. Thanks for having me. And thank you, P-Town.
I just look forward to you coming back, because the information you give it so that any and everyone can understand the information. So I do appreciate that.
Thank you. I'm glad it was well received. And thank you for IC Norcom and P-Town and the Nelson
Amen.
Prentice family for who I am. Thank you.
All right.
Okay, Buster.
Thank you.
Oh, Portsmouth Coffee
Have a
Talk,
great day.
James.
Oh,
God bless.
Portsmouth
Great day.
Coffee Talk is here for our voice.
Our community.
In our future.
Amen.
Salute to you, Buster.
Thank
Take
you.
care,
Salute.
Buster.
Salute.
Salute, sir. For you, dear Norcom.
For you, dear Norcom. Woo, woo, woo.
Uh-oh. Still got a bark in him.
Just 1 minute.
Wanted to mention one thing to you.